Good evening and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk. Tonight, we're very fortunate to have one of our guests here in the city of Dumaguete, a very young legislator, 30 years old, and ulitaw pa, binata. And he's a very, very good friend and classmate of the son of Mayor Ipe Remolyo, Attorney Dio Remolyo. And para malaman natin yung mga tinatagong sikreto ni Deo dyan. kung meron. Anyways, we have with us the party list representative of 4Ps. We have with us Congressman Jonathan Clement M. ABALOS Jr. CONG Jonathan, good evening and welcome to Let's Talk. Thank you for being my guest tonight.
Of course, unang-una maraming salamat po Dok Dinno for having me here and giving me this opportunity to introduce myself to the gentle people of Dumaguete. And you can just call me JC po, sir.
JC?
Yes.
CONG JC. JC. It's good to have a very young legislator here. It's quite an honor for us, though. And we would like to get more insights and what do you think about what's going on in our country right now as a very young legislator, no? But offhand, let's talk about first Attorney Dio Remolyo.
Oh, yes.
We have a lot of things to talk about him. I understand you were classmates during time. Maybe you can talk about that.
Yes. Actually, Attorney Dio was my blockmate in Ateneo Law School.
Wow.
In Makati City. And I would say, sabi nga nila, birds of the same feather flock together. Attorney Dio is a consistent honor student.
That's right.
So I really strive to be alongside him at all times when we're studying together. He's the perfect study companion. Ang dali rin po niya kasama, and he's one of the most well-rounded guys I've known. He's into sports, he's very intellectual, and he gets along with everybody in school. So I'm so glad that I've been given an opportunity to visit him, to visit his wonderful province, rather. The city of Dumaguete.
Yes, right.
I'm really thankful that I finally got to visit this wonderful place, and I really look forward to coming back and contributing to the development and to the progress that the city would bring, because as a member of the Philippine-Korean Interparliamentarians in Congress, I make it a point to visit Korea every year on official duty, and kilala po ang city ng Dumaguete hindi lamang po sa Pilipinas bilang most visited summer destination the past year, pero sa buong mundo rin po. Ambassador Tess Dizon de Vega would always tell me na ang dami pong investors abroad and hindi na nga po kinakaya ng airport dito yung capacity ng tourists na nagpa-flock in. And I was just about to lobby for added funding for our airport, but I was so glad to hear that earlier today the sitting government under the leadership of Mayor Ipe Remolyo was able to secure a loan. So for the further development, of course, of not only the airport but various infrastructure projects that would benefit not only the city but also the whole province and the whole country eventually. So I'm so glad to be here today for me to interact with the local officials, with the residents, and of course kung ano po ang magagawa ko para makatulong sa pag-unlad ng Dumaguete, lalo na po sa pagdating na budget season.
Well said, CONG JC. No, you have been up close and personal with Attorney Dio Remolyo, and for a fact, it's no. You might have known that he's trying to go around, trying to get the feel of his intention of running.
Yes.
As mayor of Dumaguete City. Your thoughts on that he intends to run for as chief executive of the city. How do you find him? If you're ever lucky enough, he'll be the one.
Attorney Dio Remolyo, not only was he a classmate of mine, but I also had the opportunity to work with him and interact with him with the House of Representatives.
That's right.
He used to work under the office of Speaker Martin Romualdez, and he has done an excellent job. Actually, during his free time, I would call him, I would ask him to come up to my office to consult with him some legislations that we want to work on. And napakabait po ni Attorney Dio, kasi normally ang isang abogado, kung hihingi ka ng payo o ng advice, sisingilin ka ng attorney's fees. Pero dahil magkabarkada kami, napakaswerte ko po na naging parte siya sa paggawa ko po ng mga batas natin para sa mga sektor na ating inaalagaan. And dahil honor student siya, sigurado po ako na kapag hihingi ako ng kanyang second opinion sa mga ipinapasa kong bill, more or less wala siyang constitutional infirmities and malaki ang pag-asang maging batas nga po siya.
Wow. Well said. Now, again, what brings you here now in Dumaguete City? Kong?
Yes. Today I am here in Dumaguete City because I got invited by the Department of Social Welfare and Development to attend the annual local chief executives meeting on the implementation of the 4Ps program, otherwise known as the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program. So through this annual meeting, we will get to share, of course I will get to share best practices of various LGUs na nakita ko po sa buong bansa kung paano nila pinapatupad flagship social amelioration program ng ating gobyerno. And at the same time, I would also get the opportunity to hear from the local chief executives here, from the provincial level to the municipality and to the city level, kung ano yung mga best practices dito regarding our flagship social amelioration program. But I would also like to take this opportunity, of course, since we are already deliberating the budget in Congress, I would also like to consult with our local chief executives here kung ano po ang maitutulong ng Kongreso para sa ikauunlad ng buong Negros Island. Because as we all know, very recently, the Negros Island region was enacted into law. I was with Attorney Dio and Mayor Ipe at the Malacanang when the said law was passed, and as a member of the minority, it's my job to fiscalize and to scrutinize the national budget. And based on my observations, nakalagay po sa ating proposed 6.3 trillion peso budget. I'm not sure kung meron tayong provisions doon, particularly for the Negros Island region. So I think it is very essential that we don't overlook the development of the Negros Island region kasi through this law, mababa sa regional level ang lahat ng departments, ang lahat ng government agencies, and that would be very instrumental for us considering that we are recovering, of course, from the effects of the pandemic. And it's also about time that we capitalize sa amount ng tourists that are flocking here, not just domestically but also internationally.
Yeah. Kong JC, although there you have many would see that 4Ps is very useful and productive for them, but you know, you cannot take it away that there are some quarters that are very critical of 4Ps. But could you say to our viewers why you personally feel that the 4Ps is still relevant and the party list itself is relevant and needed in government?
Oh yes. Maraming salamat po, Dok Dinno, for asking that question. To our viewers, I would just like to clarify rin po, and for the sake of illustration, the 4Ps program of the DSWD is very different from the other forms of social amelioration that the government is giving out. Yung 4Ps program, hindi po siya dole out na ayuda lamang.
Correct.
Because under the 4Ps program, merong conditionalities na kailangang i-comply ng beneficiary in order for him or her to receive the conditional cash grants. What does this mean? Meron pong conditionalities na sinusundan ang isang beneficiaryo para makuha niya ang cash grant. So for example, we have conditionalities when it comes to education. So a beneficiary must ensure that his children would attend school at least 85% of the time.
Okay.
Meron din tayong health requirements for prenatal and postnatal care of children. So meron din tayong nutrition requirements and kailangan din po magpa-check up parati in order to get the health subsidies. So it's not like any other form of dole out na bibigyan lang po natin ng pera ang ating kababayan and then tapos na. We're not giving them fish. We're actually teaching them to uplift the quality of life of the family. And we also have family development seminars. So the 4Ps program was actually patterned after the conditional cash grant transfers of other countries like those situated in Latin America. But what makes the 4Ps program in the Philippines unique is that we have our family development seminars.
Okay.
So dito napakahalaga po na alagaan natin yung family dynamics because that's the building block of Filipino society. And today, tomorrow, I will be attending the local chief executives meeting. The president said that the target under the Philippine Development Plan is to make our poverty incidence rates to single digits.
Okay.
So this is only possible if, of course, magiging maganda ang pag-implementa natin ng ating program because data would show for every case worker that the DSWD has, 800 households ang hawak niya.
Wow.
So it's very difficult for us to implement this program if we wouldn't, of course, engage the parent leaders, the beneficiaries on the ground. Dahil napakataas nga po ng case worker to beneficiary ratio ng ating flagship social amelioration program. What we did was that we filed a bill that would recognize the important roles of 4Ps parent leaders. Yung nangyari po kasi on the ground, dahil wala tayong fiscal space para sa ating social workers na dagdagan sila, ginawa po natin, yung nangyari po sa ground, ang ating mga beneficiary, they organize themselves into groups.
Okay.
Yun po ang nangyayari sa mga ibang probinsya or sa buong Pilipinas. And then may mga parent leader, and then they function as partners of the department. So we passed a law that recognizes that role and that would reimburse them for communication and transportation expenses. And of course, we are also lobbying that all of our city and municipal links sa DSWD ma-regularize po natin kasi naka-contract of service lamang po sila. So sa ngayon po, umiikot po tayo ng buong Pilipinas. I just got back from Sorsogon. I'm now in Dumaguete, and on Saturday, I will be visiting Mindanao naman po para kamustahin ang ating mga kababayan. And sorry po, Sir Dino, if I'm sharing too much, but ang 4Ps party list po, it's different from the program of the DSWD. In such a sense na kami po, hindi po kami yung programa ng DSWD, pero iisa lamang po ang aming hangarin, which is ipaglaban po ang karapatan ng mga pinakamahihirap na tao ng ating bansa. And I always believed in decentralization. I always believed in fiscal autonomy of local government units. That is why I go around the country, because right now I am studying the possibility of revising how we compute the national tax allotments that the LGUs are getting. Kasi ayon po sa ating saligang batas, each local government unit deserves a just and equal share of the national wealth. But what does it mean to be just and equitable in the share of the national wealth? The current formula provides na meron tayong population, territory, and equal sharing. In terms of population, for example, it is very important that local governments with populations that have higher poverty incidence deserve a greater share of our national taxes para sila po ang ating matulungan. And yan po ang ating ginagawa. Kaya po tayo umiikot ng buong Pilipinas para siguraduhin po na mapunta ang pondo ng ating national government sa mga lugar na nararapat po.
That's well said, Kong JC. Now, I understand that in Congress you are serving as the assistant minority leader. And considering that there's an overwhelming number of members belonging to the administration bloc, why? Was it your decision or was it your choice to be part of the minority bloc instead of the majority bloc?
Yes. Right now, I am currently serving under the minority bloc because in 4Ps party list, dalawa po kaming nominee na nakapasok sa Kongreso. And our first nominee, Congressman Marcelino Nonoy Libanan, is the minority leader. So I followed suit sa aming first nominee, and that's how I became assistant minority leader.
Now, in terms of filing bills and so that ultimately becomes a law, being with the minority, is it do you have difficulty trying to pass laws or pass bills to become into law by reason that you're not part of the majority bloc?
No, I actually think that being part of the minority is a really good advantage because, of course, budget season is coming up, and the minority bloc plays a very important role in fiscalizing the budget. Kasi traditionally, in practice, the whole budget of the government sa General Appropriations Bill, that is something that is sponsored by the majority. Now, since the minority bloc is not a sponsor of the national budget, our role is to fiscalize and to scrutinize every line item that comes up in the NEP. So that is why I am here in Dumaguete right now, and that is why we keep on traveling, because I like to consult with our different departments. I like to consult with our local chief executives kung may kailangan pong baguhin sa ating budget and kung may kailangang i-revise na bagay, at least yun po ang ating malalabi. In terms of passing legislations, napakaswerte ko po na parte po ako ng minorya dahil kung wala pong may member ng minority sa mga hearing, hindi po magkakaroon ng quorum So yun
right.
po ang napakagandang advantage at pagiging part po ng minority bloc.
Let's talk about you being a public servant in terms of legislation or being part of the legislative branch of government. Was this entirely part of your personal goals in life, or were you in a way influenced by your family or your parents who were maybe in politics or ano?
That's a good question po,
Yes.
attorney.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dok Dinno.
Yeah.
I never really thought, nor imagined, nor dreamt, nor aspired that I would be in public service. All I wanted to be, just like Attorney Dio, is to become a lawyer. So what happened po, when I was doing my law school in Ateneo Law School, I had to take a leave of absence because I got operated sa thyroid. I'm also a cancer survivor. That is why I stopped with my law studies. And during the time that I was recovering, my cousin, who is a counselor in Mandaluyong City, invited me to be part of his legislative consultants. So I was the one doing his committee reports, resolutions, and the ordinances. I would help with him. And little did I know that I would eventually become a nominee of the four-piece party list. So it's something that is beyond my aspirations nor imaginations, but hanggat sa gugustuhin po ng tao na magsilbi tayo, nandito naman po tayo at handa naman po tayo maglingkod.
How are you related to our DILG Secretary Ben-Hur ABALOS?
Okay, I would like to take this opportunity para linawin po sa ating mga kababayan na hindi ko po kapatid si Secretary Abalos.
Oh, yeah.
Kasi mukha po siyang bata, napaka-fit.
That's right.
Naalala ko po, first time na lumabas sa TV, akala nila magkapatid kami. I'm actually his nephew.
Wow.
Yes, and I am also the grandson of the youngest mayor of the whole Philippines. 90 years old na si Mayor Ben Abalos po.
Yes. So now, of course, your uncle, right? Si Secretary Ben-Hur has been in politics for so long a time, no? And has this served as an inspiration for you also to, as you said earlier, that it was by mere accident and that you became part of 4Ps as a representative, but at the same time, looking at your family, your uncle, your grandfather, no? How did this in a way inspire you also to serve?
Yes. My biggest inspiration is actually my grandfather first.
Yeah.
Kasi si Mayor Ben Abalos po, hindi po siya lumaki sa yaman. Anak po siya ng dalawang locker attendant sa Wakwak Golf and Country Club. Isa po siyang golf caddy noong araw. At dahil sa kanyang pagiging golf caddy, binigyan siya ng pagkakataon ng kanyang amo na maging part-time student, part-time worker sa factory or janitor. At dyan po niya na pondohan ang kanyang abogasiya hanggat siya po ay maging judge at eventually naging mayor and naging public servant po. So ang dahilan kung ba't itinaguyod po ang 4-piece party list ay para mabigyan po ng oportunidad ang ating mga kababayang mahihirap po at malang araw malay po natin sila naman po ang susunod na magiging mayor at congressman dahil alam ko po ang taong galing sa hirap hindi po nakakalimutan lumingon sa kanyang pinanggalingan. And also SILG Ben-Hur Abalos is really a big inspiration. As a matter of fact, when I first assumed the office, I called him up right away. I asked him, is there any particular bills or measures that you want to have me done, to have done? And the only thing that he told me is, JC, don't ask me. Ask the people. And at pangalawa, magpakabayad ka, sundan mo yung konsensya mo habang ginagawa mo ang trabaho mo. So sa aming pamilya po, wala pong nagbibigay ng unsolicited advice. Sa aming pamilya rin, pinapabayaan po namin magtrabaho ang bawat isa dahil ang boss naman po namin ay ang taong bayan. At hindi po nagmamatter kung ano ang sabihin namin sa bawat isa. So kanina nga, for example, as I was talking about the possibility of recomputing the national tax allotment, kami nga sa pamilya nagtatalo kami doon kasi Mandaluyong, being one of the top 10 richest cities in the Philippines, kung babaguhin ko po ang pag-compute ng IRA, maaring mabawasan nga ang kanilang share for the benefit of areas that might need it more. Yung mga lugar na napakaliit po ang locally generated revenue. So it's something that I'm really grateful for. na kami po, ang boss po namin talaga ay ang taong bayan po. At kaya umiikot rin po ako sa iba't ibang sulok ng Pilipinas para marinig rin po kung ano ang mga kailangan ng ating mga kababayan at ang ating mga local chief executives sa ground.
You sat with Mayor Ipe Remolyo, the dad of Attorney Deo Remolyo a while back. Your impressions of our dear Mayor Remolyo?
Of course, I've known Tito Mayor Ipe for quite a long time now, and I am always grateful whenever I get to interact with him.
Yes.
Whether if it's on official duty or or personal, it's always great seeing Mayor Ipe, and he's really somebody to be proud of. Kasi hindi lang po siya nagbigay ng dangal at pagpugay sa lungsod ng Dumaguete sa buong Pilipinas, kung hindi sa buong mundo po. Tulad ng sabi ko po kanina, nung pumunta ako sa Korea, ang sabi po ng ating ambassador, ang sabi po ng mga gobernador doon, Dumaguete is the next big thing. And I don't think that this city would, I think a lot of the development that this city has seen, we owe a lot of it to the leadership of Mayor Ipe Remolyo. So, nandito po ako ngayon upang ipahiwatig ang aking buong suporta kung ano po ang madadagdagan ng national government sa ikagaganda ng hindi lamang ng Dumaguete City, kung hindi ng buong Negros Island po. Handa po tayong tumulong at tumindig para sa ating mga kababayan na nandito.
Now, as I said earlier, that Attorney Deo Remolyo is maverick when it comes to entering now politics. His intentions of running for mayor of city of Dumaguete come October.
Yes.
And he's getting the feel of the constituents of Dumaguete City. Now, being in legislation right now, being a congressman, very young congressman, your advice for Attorney Deo Remolyo, who's entering now another arena in his life?
Of course, I would share with my dear friend the same piece of advice that my family gave me, which is number one po, makinig ka lang sa taong bayan kasi sila po ang boss natin. And I don't need to say that to Attorney Deo because I know na yung puso niya nasa tao po talaga.
That's right.
And nakita ko po yun from day one, kaya po may magkaibigan. So, Attorney Deo, saludo po ako sa inyo. Maraming salamat rin sa lahat ng tulong na ibinigay mo sa akin bilang neophyte congressman. I won't be passing so much bills if it wasn't for his help also.
Wow.
So, pagdating din po, since he also worked under the office of Speaker Martin Romualdez, whenever I would make some requests for my constituencies, for the sectors that I represent, I always coordinate and lobby with him, and he has always been responsive and madali po siya lapitan talaga. Kaya napakaswerte po ng mga kababayan natin dito sa Dumaguete na meron po tayong kandidatong bata, mahusay, mabait, madali lapitan sa pagkatao po ni Attorney Deo Remolyo.
Okay. Now, you said earlier that in the House of Representatives, how many, we talk about 35 below, mga matang mga congressmen. How many are young congressmen there right now?
I think right now we have about around 80 are below the age of 35.
Wow. 80 congressmen.
Yes.
And women, no?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think we need more young people in Congress or even in presidency or what?
That's actually a good question. If we were to review the past elections, half of the voting population belong to millennials and people from Generation Z. So I think it's being reflected now with the composition of the House of Representatives. Dumadami po ang mga bata. Whether or not it's something that we need, it's up to the people to decide actually. Sabi nga nila, diba, Vox Populi Vox Dei. The voice of the people is the voice of God. And at the same time po, I think it's also advantageous for us to have young leaders. Dahil nga po kapag bata, nandyan pa yung youthful energy, nandyan pa yung endurance ng kanilang katawan. Kaya po nila umikot ng buong Pilipinas kung kakailanganin po. And that's a really big advantage for us. And of course, it's all about looking after the next generation of Filipinos. And of course, if young people would be given the chance to serve, then the future might look brighter for us.
Kung JC, on a personal note, describe the feeling of satisfaction knowing that you have become instrumental in providing aid and alleviating the situation of our constituents in the country.
Right. Actually, I think nga po, Dok Dinno, being a public servant is satisfaction is very hard to attain because number one, it actually hurts to serve. Some people might say nakaka-addict or masaya, but on my end, it's actually very painful if you go around very depressed areas that experience a lot of violence, and nakikita po natin kung yung inequality between certain cities and municipalities. I think it's a tough job, number one, and number two, it's the problems that our country is facing. It's not something that you can fix overnight.
That's right.
It's gonna take a lot of time, a lot of patience, and a lot of effort. And on my end po, as a young public servant, siguro yung nagbibigay lang po siguro ng lakas sa aming mga politiko ay kapag may nafe-feel kaming onting appreciation, onting thank you, yun na po yun. But at the end of the day, it's really hard to be satisfied because if we look at where our country is, we're a third world country. We have a lot of potential. And siguro mararamdaman ko lang po ang satisfaction na yan kapag na-unravel na natin ang buong potential ng ating bansa.
Wow. Many of our viewers are emerging young leaders. Could you share with them your guiding principle as far as public service is concerned?
Right. My guiding principle as far as public service is concerned is that public service begins in school. You don't have to be an elected official in order for you to serve the country. When I was in college in Ateneo de Manila University, as a matter of fact, I was kind of a student activist, I would say. I would go to the May 1 rallies. I would lobby to farmer groups. I would work with labor unions at a young age. And wala pong kapalit yung ganong klaseng panunungkulan. And like I said, be a student leader. That's number one. Remember that being a student comes first. And being a student puts you in the best position to serve in the most sincere way. Dahil ang pagsilbi mo para sa ating bayan, kapag ikaw ay hindi pa nakahalal, alam mong wala pong kapalit yan. Talagang galing po yan sa puso, galing po yan sa pagmamahal. And kung isa ka pong, kung nanonood ka po sa programang ito ngayon, hindi mo kailangan maging elected official para maglingkod. You can do it by simply, studying hard and, using the resources you have in the classroom as a student to uplift and give voice to, yung mga maliliit na tao. Then, I think yun po yung aking guiding principle. Be ready to serve at a young age. Because you'll never know, we might end up having the same destiny as me na biglang bibigyan ng pagkakataong maglingkod. And at least kung mabigyan ka ng pagkakataong maglingkod, galing po yan sa inyong puso.
And finally, Kong JC, your message for our mayor, for Attorney Deo, and for the gentle people of Dumaguete.
To Mayor Ipe Remolio, to Attorney Deo Remolio, and the gentle people of Dumaguete, I am so grateful for being here. Hopefully, I get the opportunity to visit this wonderful place once again very soon. Be assured po na nandito lang rin po ako para tumulong in any way I can, in any capacity that I can, to augment, of course, the services that you provide to your people, because I always believe that Dumaguete has a lot of potential. It's really emerging. It's an emerging city, not only in the Philippines, but in the world. So I really commend Mayor Ipe for taking Dumaguete City to where it is today.
Kong JC, having talked with you tonight, you have restored my faith in the young leaders, very young legislator just like you. And you said it well. So we'd like to thank you for being my guest tonight, Kong JC. This is not going to be the last one. I'm pretty sure you'll be coming back here.
Definitely.
And then we'll be talking more about your legislation.
Yes.
Okay. And what you've been doing, what updates on what you've been doing around the country.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dok Dinno.
So continue to subscribe to our YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter accounts. And that was our guest. Very privileged to have with us Congressman JC ABALOS So that's our show for tonight. I'm Dok Dinno. Let's keep talking and be well.